I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Colby and Chip.
Now I'm Linkin Park.
I'm excited about this one because I was listening to some music and this one came up on my, like, you know when YouTube just kind of picks your next song? Mm-hmm. This one came up and I really wanted to listen to it, but I was like, oh, I can't. We might do a reaction to it.
And then here we are.
Yep.
This is on Meteora. I stopped listening to them.
Oh, really?
Well, they had this one called Hybrid Theory, and that was the everything you say to me. After that, I was done with Linkin Park. Mm-hmm. This wasn't a. You know what killed me about Linkin Park?
What?
Was that I went to a show. It had Marilyn Manson, Disturbed. Mudvayne Manson was the headliner. Mm-hmm. And so Linkin Park was on early, and they came on, and Chester was wearing slippers. He's wearing tank top, short, and slippers performing. And I said, no. I said, I am finished with this band. That was it. That was it. I never listened to them after that.
Yeah, that's not...
I felt like it's like, come on, bruh. I mean, I know he's with the Ain Sulk now. I mean, he's with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah. But
yeah, I see what you're saying.
I couldn't.
Really?
No, that was it. I never forgave him for that.
But, I mean...
So that was the end of Linkin Park.
You couldn't have liked them that much to disown them over slippers.
I only heard... Well, that's also true. I wasn't really
a
big Linkin Park fan at the beginning. But, you know, I could have been converted. Like, Mudvayne converted me. So this song, I've only heard half of it because they did a song with him and Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. Encore, do you want more? Cooking wrong with the Brooklyn Bro. So I've heard half of this song already because they did it with Jay-Z. There? Yeah. All right, so let's hear the whole thingamajiggy.
Go.
See? Who you know fresher than hoe? Really me that. Rest of y'all know where I'm lyrically at. Can't tell y'all really that.
Tired of being what you want me to be. Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. Don't know what you're expecting of me. Put under the pressure of walking in your shoes.
Rest in peace to the big homie.
I liked it.
That's one of those
What?
songs that could be copied and pasted into a multitude of scenarios.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yep.
You know, my friend had this book on songwriting one time, and they had like 4 or 5 things of like a hit song, and one of them was relatability.
Yeah.
And you know, this could be a parent, this could be a boyfriend, it could be a girlfriend, it could be an employee, it could be, you know, there are a lot of situations in which,
Could be a child saying it to their parent.
Well, yeah, and of course, when you're young, when you're a teenager, especially when you're a teen, it's more when you're a teenager that you feel like this with your parents. Like, I can never make you happy. You're trying to control me. Da, da, da.
I don't know what you're expecting of me. Put under the pressure of walking in your shoes.
Yeah. And
Because
then
we'll say to the kids, I'm like, when I was 12, man, I was shoveling that friggin', you know what I mean?
Right. Which is the only, which of course, when you're young, you interpret that as your parents are saying, you worthless piece of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But really what it's saying is, I'm not asking you to do something that I
haven't
wouldn't do.
done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But of course, the perspectives are different.
Right. No, you're right.
Because the kid doesn't have an experience of trying to motivate somebody to do minimum things that they need to do that they've done themselves. They don't know that.
Right.
All they know is that here you are telling them to, you know, whatever. So it's so funny. Like sometimes when I have conversations with people, I go, "Do you have kids?"
Yeah.
Because
it is an important question.
It changes your perspective.
It really does.
If you have babies, it changes your perspective. If you have toddlers, your perspective on life changes. And when you you know, we're just now entering into teenagedom, it changes your perspective on a lot of the things that your parents used to say and do that you literally, sometimes I'll tell them, like, you will not understand this till you have kids of your own.
And it's the honest to goodness truth.
You just don't understand until you have your own kids. You know, like we were having a conversation about your dad, you know, and we were in Cali, that conversation we had on the beach.
On the beach, yep.
You know, and when you're young, you have you know,
like, I can't believe this or that thing, you know, like the way that he parented in different ways, but then I'm like, now we're having the conversation, I'm like, oh my word, what else could he do? You know, he was doing the best that he could, you know, to try to make sure that everything stayed good with me and the other siblings. And
well, when your kids are teenagers, the stakes are higher. So like right now, Johan, the only thing I'm worried about is what thing is he gonna break? Or we just bought him all laptops for homeschool, so it's like, you know, is that laptop gonna survive the school year? But once he turns 16 or 17, if he's got a car, now the
if he breaks the laptop, he doesn't break with the laptop.
Everything's all or nothing now.
If he breaks the car, he could break with the car.
He could die.
Yeah.
You know, we had a guy, you know, Christmas Eve, got drunk, got behind the wheel with him and his boys, 6 people dead. Then his dad had to go to the emergency room and identify his body.
Oh my gosh.
So what kids don't understand is the minute that the kid is conceived and the parents know that there's a kid, you immediately are scared you're going to lose it. The kids don't have that experience, so they don't understand.
No.
So then what happens is when you feel like the stakes are that high, you start going crazy. You know? And then he talks about, you know, the control thing.
Yeah.
You know, holding too tightly, afraid to lose control. Now, of course, the kid thinks you're just trying to control me.
Right.
Which, of course, is true to some degree, but the main issue is they're scared to death of losing you. You know?
It's not because they want to be a jerk.
Well, my mom used to say that. I used to be out past, she had a curfew. You know, the curfew was like a suggestion to me, like, because she'd say things like, if you're not going to be home by curfew, don't come home. Okay. Okay, I won't come home. You know? And so she stopped saying that because I just wouldn't come home. You know, but she had a 17-year-old kid in the Bronx, New York.
Oh my gosh.
There were a lot of high stakes there for me, of course. And I knew that they were. But I didn't know what it was like to be a parent and worry about me. I just knew about worrying about myself.
Yep.
you know, or worried about my friends, but I didn't know what it was like to be a parent and worry about a kid.
Yeah.
You know, but I thought she was just trying to control me, just because she was a controlling person. That's what I thought. It wasn't that, you know, and she would, my mom and me are very, very similar. Like, she's not going to communicate a lot of vulnerability, but she did tell me 2 or 3 times, like, when you're gone and you're not home by a certain time, I'm thinking I'm going to pick up some newspaper, there's going to be some whatever, and you're going to be dead, because you heard about it every day in the Bronx. Somebody was dead over some, you know. So,
jeez.
So it's a crazy song to listen to, because I've been in both situations, you know, as a so parent-child, but like relationship-wise, that's also a really difficult one. You know, like, and it's kind of like he basically numbs himself to this person's opinion, so that he doesn't have to feel hurt and constantly disappointing the person.
Right.
Because the other type of, you know, like, you could be in a relationship with somebody who, you know, won't give you any breathing room and won't, you know, is extremely controlling, and, you know, what was the song that's saying to you?
Well, I saw that it could have multiple, you know, multiple meanings. You know, in the one sense, it could be, you know, if you're not compatible with how much you're gonna get accomplished in a given task, and the one person is expecting more, and you're not living up to that, and there's all this pressure, and, you know, so when he's saying, I'm tired of being what you want me to be, feeling so faithless, lost under the surface, I don't know what you're expecting me, put under the pressure of walking in your shoes. Like, that to me was, you know, the person is putting all of this pressure, and you're, 2 people are not the same, and what they're gonna be, what's important to them is not the same. And when you're trying to make relationships work, sometimes there's just, you're not going to agree on everything, and there's going to be points where you're going to say, okay, all right, I can't follow you there. There was it was a show that I watched when I was a kid, and like, the wife was like trying so hard. It was a physical, like, they were physically building their house. I think it was Little House on the Prairie or something like that. They were like physically building the house out of logs, and like physically working the ground to like make the garden, and it was like a lot of hard work. And there was a point in time where she couldn't keep up with him, you know, because physically a woman is not, a typical woman is not built like a typical man. So, you know, she couldn't do as much as he could do, and then she was trying to live up to this expectation, and it was gonna put her in the hospital. Well, they didn't have a hospital, but, you know, so, you know, that sort of thing. Like, I think that there's expectations that we have for ourselves. Can you pull those, go back up to the top of the lyrics? Yeah, and then sometimes, you know, you can feel like, okay, like, you're doing what you can and as much as you can, but the other person is expecting all of this, and then you just kind of feel caught in the undertow, just kind of like takes you, like, you're not expecting it, it just takes you, and every step I take is another mistake to you. And when you're in a relationship, whether it's parent to child, or, you know, relationship like this or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, sometimes when you're in the situation where you feel like, oh my gosh, like, everything I do is just another mistake. Like, it doesn't matter. Every time I try to do something right, it comes out being the wrong thing. It's extremely frustrating, and some of it is a communication issue. You know, like, I look back at some of the discussions that I would have with my dad, and I'm like, we both just misunderstood each other.
Yeah.
He made assumptions, and I made assumptions, and then it turned into a fight, and then there was nothing more that could be said because neither one of us were going to budge, and so it just got left like that. And then, you know, so, you know, that's how I would feel. I always felt like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything right. Like, every time I turn around, I'm doing something wrong. And he felt the same, similar ways too. Like, I'm trying my best to, you know, do what I can to be a great father to you guys, and it's just never good enough for you, you know? So there was like this, you know, my expectations and his expectations.
It's a typical thing where it's like, I'm out here working for y'all, I'm grinding for y'all, and then the kid goes, I just wanted a dad.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, but you had a certain type of lifestyle that was only afforded. There are things that when you're raised in a certain level of privilege, you don't know anything else, so you say things like that. It's like Zoe, she'll say like, oh, everything's about the channel. Of course, you know, when we go off somewhere, because we put a lot of time into the channel, but when we go off somewhere because of the fruits of the channel, then she enjoys it.
Right.
But, you know, there's things that we can do because of the channel that we wouldn't be able to do, but to her it's like, well, I just wanted you guys around or whatever, but it's like, well,
like
Dad would have to go outside,
yeah.
Go ahead.
It's funny because today that conversation came up again, you know, and she was like, she was telling my mom, I hate the channel, she said. And it was funny because I said, but you don't mind benefiting off of the fruits of the channel.
Right.
So when we take a little trip and you get to go do something, and then she was more or less making it sound like, I don't need that. Like, I just want to be around you guys more.
Right.
And I said, well, fine then. The next time that we go on a trip, don't participate in the fun activity. Just sit with me and your dad.
Right.
And let all the other kids. She goes, well, no, I'm not going to do that.
No.
I'm like, right.
But relationships are, well, like we had the situation on both sides within our own relationship in the channel, right, where it was like one of us was like, go, 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 and the other one was like, man, I'm getting exhausted here, and then that created a bunch of conflicts, and then one of us had to say, okay, fine, this is realistic, this is where we're at, okay, we got to do it at this pace, and then everything went well after that, you know, but before that, we would constantly run into these.
Well, I mean, I think we can say I was always the one that was like, "This is too much. I can't do all of this," and you were like, "Oh, let's go, 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 go," and I was like, "I can't," and that's how I felt. I felt like the expectations were, I'm like, I can't. There's too much pressure trying to walk in your shoes. I'm not you. I can't do all this.
Right.
You know.
Right. And then, you know, I just had to say, oh, okay. Because, you know, I had this goal in my head of I'll be full-time by X, but we have to do X, Y, and Z to get there. So then it was like, okay, like, it's not going to happen, bro. We're already doing stuff that nobody else is doing. So this is it. It's not going to happen when you want it to happen. It'll happen eventually, inshallah, and whatever. And, you know, things were better for our relationship because I had to go, why do you even want to go full time? So you can have more time with her. Well, you've got time with her now. Stop being so freaking miserable. You know, like, and that's how I did the arithmetic. Then once I was able to go there, then like things were a lot better for us because you know I was able to say, okay. But a lot of
I didn't know what happened. I just felt like a corner got turned.
Yeah,
it wasn't like the pressure that there was before.
I just made peace with the fact that we were not going to be full time when I wanted to. You know, so. But that's how relationships are. Like sometimes people just have to. There's got to be that give and take. There's got to be that, you know, and that's one of the things that always like gets me back to the center, which is what am I doing this for? So going full time was so that I could have time with you and more time with you and more time with the kids. So it's like, well, you don't have the perfect scenario, but you have more time with her than the average person does, so why be miserable with it? And it was like, oh yeah, just let it, and you just got to let it go. But a lot of people don't want to let go what their, you know, whatever is their, whatever their vision of how things should go.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to let that go, and you have to. You know, in order to. You just have to make sure that whatever your vision for the relationship is centered around the actual relationship and not something else. Because the minute it's something else, then there's a lot of trouble. You know? So, you know, I was never in a situation where, you know, like I felt like I kind of went through this, you know, but I never felt like I was disappointing someone. In the sense that I just didn't care.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It was like, you know, I idolized my mom, but I had to reach a certain, even like before I became a teenager, I realized I wasn't going to be able to live up to her standards or whatever. So I numbed myself before I got to that point.
Yep.
And it's always stayed with me.
Yep.
And so, you know, and it's crazy because he talks about control, you know, afraid to lose control or whatever. And like, that's one of the main ways that people control other people. It's these feedback loops. It's like, if you do what I want you to do, I'm gonna flood you with a bunch of good feedback. And if you do what I don't want you to do, then I'm gonna flood you with a bunch of negative feedback. And then then a person gets stuck on that loop where they're trying to constantly get that positive feedback, and then they start orienting their lives around whether or not the person is going to give them positive or negative feedback, and then that becomes a control mechanism. So when you say to somebody, I don't care if you say anything positive or negative about me, people don't like that because then they don't have a way of controlling you.
Yeah.
It's like, well, just convince me that what you're saying is the way they should go.
Yeah.
Instead of like making me a slave to your feedback loop.
Yeah.
So you go to a person and say, I don't give a damn about your feedback loop. Then that's when they start getting upset. Why are you smiling?
Well, I've seen it. I've never been in the situation that you're in, like people's feedback loop. I get stuck in that a lot. So, but I've seen you like, yeah, not doing that.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah,
Well,
and I've seen people get very angry that you don't care. And at first, I didn't understand why they were so angry. And then when you explained that to me, I was like, oh.
No, you can't control them. They can't control
Okay,
you.
yeah.
But there's ways to convince me to do stuff. I mean, if they go through you.
Yeah, people used to ask me,
Yeah.
go ask Vin, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because they know. But it doesn't operate on that way, like you don't control me. You know, like you know how to talk to me. That's the thing, it's like you know how to talk to me, you know how to convince me of stuff. You know, like you already know not to do that with me. But it takes a while to learn how to, like most of us don't even know how to talk to somebody in a way that convinces the other person.
Yeah.
Most of the time, most of the give and take functions on emotional blackmail. People don't even know it. But that's just the majority of these things function on emotional blackmail. Most people don't know how to function outside of that.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't even know if people realize that they're doing it.
they don't.
You know, it's
because
just,
it was done to them.
Yeah, it's just normal. This is what we do.
Yeah. But you're very good at that, though. You're very good at presenting something and saying we should do this for this reason, outside of the I'll be happy with you or I won't be happy with you. Like you never, in our entire relationship, even when we were friends, you were never like that. It was always,
Oh, yeah.
it was always, well, the scripture says this, or this is this, or this is
Yeah.
what the kids need. It's never, and that's one of the reasons, like, we always were able to get along so well, because you were one of the few people that were able to just communicate on just that level instead of the emotional blackmail that usually happens in not just relationship, boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, husband-wife, but just in general. So, I always appreciate that about you. Well, there you go. What do you give the song?
A 9. I like it.
It's funny, I kept hearing Jay-Z through the song. You heard the song, right? Who you know, man? Oh, really that? Listen, I know I'm looking at that. Unbelievable.
You probably played it for me, but
Unbelievable.
it doesn't sound...
Unbelievable. Yeah. This song was definitely, I can see why it was big. It's 3 minutes, verse, chorus type of thing, and you know, so that doesn't push it like, you know, that doesn't push it like over the edge to where it's like a completely classic song. But if you're talking about the human experience and what it's like to be a human being and all that, it definitely touches on something that if people can figure out
Yeah.
how not to do this to other people, then that'll be huge. So because of that, it's worth a full 1.5 to me, so I'll give it a 9.5.
I think it's tough for people to do that with this song because this song makes you feel bad for yourself.
Yeah, but it could also function as a precautionary tale.
Yeah, if people do that. But I think most people look at it and they're like, yeah, the people that did this to me. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know. People are always the hero or the victim in
Yeah.
these stories. They're never the person.
I remember when you pointed that out to me. And at
What?
first, you said people are always either the hero or the victim in
Yeah.
their stories. And I was like, well, no. And then, like, I started noticing in a lot of the discussions, I was like, because I remember that there was this one lady that I was talking to, and she made herself like she was the complete victim and the complete hero. And like, I just believed her entire story. And I brought her up to meet you, and I was like, because I was like believing every word that she said, and you were like, yeah? And like, I could tell by your face you weren't buying the whole story. And then obviously as time progressed, I realized that, yeah, a lot of the story was bullshit. You know?
Who?
I'll tell you later. But it
Whisper it to me.
actually, I'm blanking on her name when you just leaned over like that.
What? Is somebody local?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you later. Anyway, so I was like, oh no. But when I saw your face initially, I was like, wait.
You can always tell. You can.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, Vin so hard. You.
You did that thing with your eyes and you tipped your head a little bit. And I was like, wait. And then I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. And then the more I thought about the story after, I was like, wait, victim. Major hero. Like, that's all it was. Like, she never did any wrong.
So funny.
Right.
Yeah. I'm generally always right. I was wrong one time. That's when I thought I was wrong.
Stop it.
She lost in the math.
Oh my goodness.
So she's still sour over that. There's not much you can do about it.
This is not true. You know what? I'm gonna do a video and post it on My Story Life. Look for a video that's about division.
Vin out.
Story out.
Gone.